Welcome to Far From Eden. It's good to have you here. We know that men are walking away from relationships. We know that they are the gatekeepers of relationships. They're the ones that get to pick, so to speak. But they don't like the selection right now. And they're allowed to not like the selection right now. And a lot of times, I think, especially for me, I focus on maybe some of the older men that have, already been through the ringer, been through family court, been, divorced, etc. But what's going on with the younger generation? Has this trickled down to them? Are the younger men seeing what's gone on with the generations that went before them? Because it appears that young men, Gen Z, as it were, which would be basically people in their 20s right now, they're not dating. And we're going to dive into why. An article was posted February 9th of this year, 2024, written by a gentleman named Daniel A. Cox. I did see his picture. He, to me, looks like a baby because, being older now, all the people who are young look like babies. He could be 28 for all I know. But the reason I say is it looks like he's of the generation that he is writing about. And he wrote an article. I'd like to tell you guys who the source is first so you can consider it. Not just, the internet told me. Because sometimes we've read articles about what men should be doing or what men are doing, and it's written by a woman. This is written by a man. As we read it, we will find out, we'll kind of be able to size him up a little bit. Daniel A. Cox, COX, he is the director of the Survey Center on American Life and a senior fellow in polling and public opinion at the American Enterprise Institute. And that is the publisher of this article. It was published on the website, survey website, Survey Center on American Life. But this is American Enterprise Institute project, so to speak. I had to hunt down because I figured out I don't think Google necessarily wants you to know who the source is. I think they just want you to look things up and go, the internet told me. Maybe not about this kind of information because I have not read the whole thing. I don't know. Is this Beta 5? Is this Symbology 101? I don't know yet. But I'm very curious to know what's going on with the younger men because that projects what the future will be. And they're not all going to be like Harrison Butker of the Kansas City Chiefs, who just did the commencement speech that seems to be rocking the world right now. All right. It's entitled Gen Z's Romance Gap, Why Nearly Half of Young Men Aren't Dating. And that right there, just the headline, it should be, alarm bells should be going off because it's my understanding, and you guys will let me know if I'm wrong, that teenage boys have a lot of hormones and they are interested in girls. So the fact that 50% of them aren't dating, what is up with that? American Institute for Boys and Men. That's the other. There's so many, like American Institute of Boys and Men, AEI. Just mention all the sources that this comes from. Until very recently, American culture has operated on the flawed notion that teenage dating and sex required little encouragement. Teenage romance was once seen as a natural part of American adolescence. This, it turns out, is completely wrong. Teenage dating is not inevitable, and it's a rapidly disappearing part of the American teenage experience. These relationships often served as inspiration for Hollywood's tragedies and comedies, but in real life, they are frequently formative and incredibly valuable for young people. Moreover, the decline of teen dating may be having an especially pernicious impact on the development of young men. Back in my day, I mean, there was dating, dating even as early as like middle school, but it was just kind of like going out, going steady. You know what I mean? But it was definitely a thing, probably too much as far as I'm concerned, because it was a constant thing. That's all us girls were really thinking about was, boyfriends and boys. And as it's interesting to me, again, he's Gen Z. He's acting like it's just always been this way. Teenagers just always date, right? No, sir. Sir. No. That's recent history. For a really long time, teenagers got married. They courted. The girls were teenagers and they got married. So I understand he's going to be like this, only thinking of modern history, post-industrial revolution, sexual revolution. There's nothing that happened before that. But that informs these guys, these young women too. Like, they have no concept of the past and what we used to be. And let alone, they also don't seem to find it relevant. In the late 1990s, Monroe County, New York, where I grew up, launched the Not Me, Not Now campaign to encourage teens to abstain from sex. In the late 1990s, Monroe County, I'm trying to figure out his age, sir. Sex education classes in my high school offered little information, and conversations about healthy relationships and dynamics were absent. Much of the public and political attention was focused on reducing unfortunate outcomes of teenage sex. The local campaign in my community was part of a national movement to reduce teen pregnancy. The Clinton administration made addressing teenage pregnancy a priority in their first term, proposing a national mobilization to combat it. In 1996, the Department of Health and Human Services launched a national strategy to prevent teen pregnancy. Maybe he's older than I thought. But that's interesting. And also where it talks about that in his high school, it offered little information and conversations about healthy relationships and dynamics, that those things were absent. You're supposed to have that in the home. You're supposed to learn that at home. Maybe you go to school and trial and error with, trying to ask a girl out, or trying to be smooth, or trying to be likable, or trying to figure out, sort of who you are compatible with. But you should learn that at home from your parents. So apparently the good Clintons made this whole prevent teen pregnancy thing. It worked. Teen pregnancy fell steadily during the 1990s and continued to fall over the next 2 decades, mostly because more teens avoided sex altogether. Governmental surveys have recorded double-digit declines in teenage sexual experiences since the late 1980s. Do y'all believe that? I went to school in the 90s. Like, I graduated high school in the 90s. I don't know that it was on decline. What I think might have been going up was the amount of young ladies ending pregnancies that were unwanted, perhaps. Safe, legal, and rare, which was more like, hey, don't forget, you can do this if you mess up. For most Americans, decline of teen pregnancies is a reason to celebrate, and for many, falling rates of teen sex represent an equally positive development. But it's not just sex that's declined among teens, it's romantic relationships overall. Teens are dating less. A survey conducted by the Survey Center on American Life found that only 56% of Gen Z adults and 54% of Gen Z men, 54% of Gen Z men said they were involved in a romantic relationship at any point during their teenage years. Wow. This represents a remarkable change from previous generations where teenage dating was much more common. More than 3/4 of baby boomers, 78%, and Generation Xers, 76%, report having had a boyfriend or girlfriend as teenagers. Yep. 44% of Gen Z men today report having no relationship experience at all during their teen years, double the rate for older men. That is concerning, highly concerning. The decline in teen dating is not good for young people, especially men, since these early romantic relationships offer vital opportunities for developing relational skills and confidence. The 3 reasons teens aren't dating. I'm sorry. Do you guys notice how much better this is as far as how it's written and how it's organized and how it's communicated than the ones we have read before? Just saying. It's just, it could be, you know, an outlier. But a man wrote this, and it's very organized and to the point. I'm not having trouble like figuring out like, you know, what they're saying. Okay, so we have 3 reasons teens aren't dating. There seem to be 3 probable causes of the dating decline: immersive technology, parental supervision, and changing norms. There are lots of reasons to fret over smartphones and social media. See the commentary from Jonathan Haidt for an overview. Okay, I don't know where that is. One underappreciated aspect of their usage is that they can promote passivity. Too many teens watch online imitations of life experiences instead of having their own. More teens are content watching from the sidelines rather than becoming active participants in their own lives. Did you guys know that there are videos on YouTube of kids playing with toys, and other kids will watch those videos of the kids playing with toys rather than play with toys themselves? And it isn't because they don't have the toys or whatever. They're just watching other people. You know what happens when you're always watching a screen? You look like this. You don't learn to sort of emote off of another person, right? It's just, you're passive, you're taking it in. And I noticed this when I was tutoring. I was like, these people are a little off because they were raised staring at screens. And it's very hard to relate to another human when only, the majority of humans you've seen as a young person was through a screen, and I don't know if Gen Z had, tablets when they were in their carriers, like some of the ones behind them, the Gen Alphas, but they certainly had it at a young enough age where this passivity thing is real. And I've never read it anywhere. I've only said it. So it's nice that, somebody's noticing that it's a problem. Video games have also changed the social landscape, particularly for teenage boys. Half of Gen Z men report that they play video games daily, often with their friends. But in most cases, online socializing is a poor replacement for real-world hangouts. Fewer friends means fewer dates, too. My own research shows that spending time with friends was strongly associated with teenage dating. Gen X had the mall, where kids would go to the mall and kind of just hang out with friends, like mutual friends. And then when you hung out with mutual friends, you figure out you get along with, a certain person and you find them attractive. And so things happen that way organically. And without that connection, that social interaction, how's it actually going to happen? Technology has certainly reduced incentives for teens to hang out in person, but parenting likely plays a role as well. Parents are far more involved in their children's lives today than previous generations. abetted by technologies that permit them to actively monitor their behavior and whereabouts. I didn't think about that. There's all these like parental controls on phones. And so I think the parents are like, yeah, I'm involved in my kid's life. I'm monitoring my kid's life. And they kind of are. But the part of it is that the child knows it. The child's always like, I'm being surveilled. Whereas Gen X, our parents didn't know where we were for hours. And we could handle it. We could handle ourselves. Was it great that they just kind of were like, try to stay alive. We've got things to do. That's the boomers. Probably wasn't the best. But now, kids are absolutely tied to their technology. And through that, to their parents, are they ever able to really leave the nest in that way? This is very interesting. By the way, Lola thinks it's dinner time, and it's not. But every time Lola interrupts me, gets me distracted, I'm reminded to ask you to please like the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. YouTube is messing around and taking subs away and reducing if my videos get suggested to people. I think they figured out I'm saying some things they don't like. Sorry, I lost my spot. Nothing more quickly quashes romantic aspirations than the constant hovering of helicopter parents. Teenage relationships tend to emerge in the absence of parental supervision. That's true. But perhaps the strongest argument for why teen dating has declined is that young people simply no longer view it as a priority. Surveys show that young people put marriage and serious relationships on the back burner. Perhaps this is why research from UCLA finds that young adults aged 18 to 24 want to see less sex and romance in their television shows and movies. That's interesting. The preferred age for getting married has shifted steadily older over the last few decades. In 2020, Gallup found that more than half of Americans believe that the ideal age for men to get married is late 20s or later. I agree with that. In fact, a lot of men aren't really ready for marriage until 30 because men have to kind of go out and become men. Whereas women, we're kind of like, we don't do that. Although a lot of women will argue with that and think that their story has that kind of an arc too, and that they can better themselves, and that's why they think they're better at 40 than they were at 20. And I'm sorry, that's just not true. Youth is a big part of what makes women, prime for marriage. It just is, because fertility. Youth and beauty and fertility. At one time, it was fairly common for high school relationships to lead to marriages, sometimes shortly after graduation. This is far less common today and less socially accepted when it does happen. I know. They tell people you're too young. You have so much of your life to live. You don't even know who you are yet. Well, as a woman, I think you should discover who you are within that marriage. I know a lot of women will hate that, but they don't have to do it. They can hate it all they want. They should ask themselves why they hate it so much. Why does it bother them so much? Even if marriage is a goal, it is far more distant one than it once was. And educational attainment and professional priorities supersede interest in establishing romantic relationships. Sadly, yes, because we have bought a lie that that's what life is about. Life is about people. Life is about relationships. Life is about family. And They don't want us thinking that. So they successfully got us all thinking that it's about our career and we're going to make our mark on the world and and that doesn't matter. You're laying on your deathbed. It doesn't matter. It doesn't. The benefits of teen romance. Does it matter if teens are dating less? Yes, because these early romantic relationships are important opportunities to learn crucial life skills. Few relationships are more strongly associated with long-term happiness and personal fulfillment than the one we have with our partner and spouse. I'm going to read that again because I just read something that sounded like something I would say when you guys call me like Alice in Wonderland or Pollyanna or something, because it was kind of like, wait, have you looked outside? Few relationships are more strongly associated with long-term happiness and personal fulfillment than the one we have with our partner and spouse. Well, certainly that's the way it should be. For this reason alone, it's remarkable that so many parents are ambivalent about their teenage children pursuing romantic relationships. I agree, except maybe not pursuing romantic relationships, and getting too serious as far as like doing things physically that are too serious and should be, saved for the confines of marriage. But yeah, parents, they were ambivalent. My generation, the boomers were like, you'll just know. Go out there and find, your person. If you do, it's fine, whatever. And they really should have directed us more. I think they really should have been like, look, this is what you're looking for. This is what you want to avoid. This is what the red flags are, especially, for all of us. I've talked about how, women can't seem to pick. And if you don't believe me, listen to every woman. Every one of them has a narcissistic, abusive ex. Now, guaranteed, they are not actually those things. However, you will hear them complain about, oh, he didn't have a job, blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, you picked him. What are you doing? And I know there are some of you out there who are perfectly wonderful, average men, which is not an insult. Most people are average. And you've been overlooked for some loser or a felon. Because some chick needed a project, or that loser or felon would, say the things that tickled her ears. So we didn't have parents that we still don't have parents that are directing these things. Parents invest an incredible amount of time and energy curating and cultivating learning opportunities and enrichment activities for their children, but dating and relationships are not things most parents stress except in the negative. Oh my gosh, preach it. Yep. And it's been how many generations now? Did the one before the boomers, silent, greatest generation, whoever the boomers' parents were? I don't know. It was several generations ago that they were actually instructing on, inappropriate, marital partner, how to find a good wife, a good husband, etc. And to help vet those people. But again, they act like they don't care. Yet these experiences are invaluable for teenagers. The pursuit of romantic relationships is especially important for young men who are often hemmed in by conventional notions of masculine behavior. Early dating and relationship experiences are fertile ground for social learning. I've argued previously that male friendship does not necessarily equip men to have healthy romantic relationships. Friendships are incredibly important developmentally and offer early lessons in empathy, compassion, and reciprocity. Friendships can teach us healthy ways to manage disagreements, resolve conflict, show affection, and practice intimacy. Also, we used to have a lot of siblings. We didn't used to have families of one kid, two kids. We used to have a lot of siblings and be around our cousins, and we used to learn that, all of those things around those people with our parents nearby to teach us. But men and women approach friendships quite differently. Oh yeah, women don't have friends, they have allies. Ignoring problems, minimizing feelings, taunting, and teasing are not effective ways to communicate with your partner or spouse, right? Well, yeah, because guys hang out with guys and they roast each other and stuff. And yeah, I'm not going to do that to a woman, but it's how a lot of men learn to communicate with each other. Yeah. One reason many younger women chose to date older men is due to their maturity, greater emotional intelligence, and relationship experience. Financial resources matter too, but they are no replacement for being able to communicate effectively or set and respect boundaries. It should be true, but when you're a woman and you can't pick, they're going to go for the resources and they're not going to understand how important the other things are, like boundaries. Critically, experience also bestows men with a sense of confidence, an essential dating commodity. Men entering the dating market with more years of relationship experience are typically better placed than those with less. Yes, but that is a men-only thing. Women with a lot of dating experience just basically have a lot of breakup experience and a lot of miles physically. Who has touched them? Who has kissed them? Who has done whatever? You're racking up bodies at that point as a female. So how do the men get to date and build that confidence, but the women don't? Tricky. But they managed it back in the day, didn't they? While healthy adolescent relationships are valuable learning experiences, without proper support and guidance, there are, of course, clear risks as well. Yes. Teen dating violence and abuse is not uncommon, but that's all the more reason why early dating experiences matter. Yeah, but they matter, but you should know before you date that that's not how you interact with people. And this is a problem of resulting from fatherless homes. Teen dating violence, that was never a thing, years ago. This is a fatherless home situation, I think. Young people who aspire to be in a committed romantic relationship will be better able to identify the personal qualities that matter to them and to recognize relationship red flags. Teen dating also enables parents to provide greater support, as these experiences often occur while teens are still living under their parents' roof. Parents and other parental figures can model healthy relationship practices. Well, one would hope, right? That's another problem with the younger generation. There are fewer and fewer good examples of what it's supposed to look like, and disconnection from how it used to be. Parental guidance is invaluable in helping young people develop positive romantic attachments that require compromise, flexibility, and sacrifice. Romantic relationships are never without risk, but early romantic failures tend to be less costly and less complicated than they are in later years. That is true. Like so many things, it's difficult to do from the sidelines. Learning comes through experience. Again, with the women, heartbreak after heartbreak after heartbreak, it doesn't affect us in a positive way. We become resentful. We become bitter. We lose, the ability to smile a lot and be sweet and be gentle. A lot of dating experience for women is not the best thing. Innocent sort of going steady is a lot better of a situation, but getting too serious about a person at a young age to just go to the next person and the next person and the next person kind of led us to where we are now. Like so many things, it's difficult to do from the sidelines. Learning comes through experience. Given that most teenagers still aspire to get married, do they? That's interesting. Most teenagers still aspire to get married. It's puzzling that relationship experiences are not afforded more of a priority. Well, they think they're kids until they're 26 years old, right? They're like, oh, I'm so far away from that. So of course they're not prioritizing what they're doing. And I think they also think it'll just happen. Like their job, it'll just happen. I'll go to college and then people just offer me six-figure jobs. That's not how it works. Our research shows that these early relationship experiences are associated with long-term commitments. Americans who had a romantic relationship as a teenager are more likely to be married today or to be in a committed relationship. 62% of Americans who had a steady girlfriend or boyfriend during most or all of their teenage years report being married today, compared to less than half, 46%, of those who did not. The gap is even wider among younger Americans. Obviously, this data cannot speak to relationship quality. Good point. Nor does it convey anything about causality. Teenage relationships do not necessarily lead people to get married, but it's not particularly surprising that people who prioritize establishing romantic connections earlier end up getting married or involved in long-term relationships. That makes perfect sense. Yeah, that does make perfect sense. If you're prioritizing it in high school, you would be prioritizing it also in your 20s. You know what I'm saying? Like, that makes sense. So if you're not prioritizing it and you're, yeah. Not everyone is ready to navigate the complexities of romantic relationships as a teenager. It can take some time for people to find their emotional footing or to sort out their sexual identity and interests. That's fair. No one should feel pressure to date before they feel ready. A girl I liked once told me she thought I was a bit slow because of how long it took me to pick up on her obvious cues. In case you're wondering, I am now happily married. But to her, or no? With that said, the extent to which young men lack relationship experience from their teen years may help to explain unfortunate examples of male dating behavior that crops up on social media. Ooh, we're getting to the juicy part. It also may help explain the rise of loneliness, an increasingly common teenage experience. Well, yeah, because we are humans, and for whatever reason, we are created in such a way that we need each other. 3 months without a meaningful social experience with a person, that's one of the law of threes. What is it? 3 minutes without oxygen, 3 days without water, 3 weeks without food, 3 months without a meaningful social interaction it's a survival need. We need each other to survive, not just oh, you got to find food, but the interaction. Do you know how many people, older people, passed away from broken, lonely hearts around 2020, 2021? A lot. Because, well, you're vulnerable. You gotta have no visitors. We need each other. And when we're just staring at screens of a person on a screen, that's not a person. But we're so starved for one another that sometimes that's, the best we have. I mean, I don't get out much, the multiple sclerosis is it's just how it is. And I often am like, ooh, I haven't seen, it's been a while. Am I going cuckoo yet? Maybe. But we're doing the best we can, because somehow the overlords have herded us into this reality. Okay. With that said, the extent to which young men lack relationship experience from their teen years may help to explain unfortunate examples. I already read this, but I'm reading it again because I was yapping and ranting. To explain unfortunate examples of male dating behavior that crops up on social media, it may also help explain the rise of loneliness, an increasingly common teenage experience, increasing human experience. Young men who learn how to be good partners, who are better able to recognize the qualities in a partner that are important to them, are less likely to go through life feeling disaffected and isolated. Having a partner or spouse is not the only way of living a good life, but finding a good partner can make a huge difference. If establishing a healthy relationship is a life goal, there is no reason that men or women should delay in developing skills necessary to its achievement. I agree. However, before you can, figure out how to be a good partner, and I'm saying partner like that because partner, it has the connotation of we are equal and we are the same, and those relationships, there's a lot of friction, and the woman tends to take, control, because somebody's got to be the leader. It just is. You can't have, two captains of the ship. It doesn't work. You can have a first mate, and they matter, but they're the first mate, and they have first mate jobs. Captain has captain jobs. And being a captain has a lot of pressure, and I wouldn't want to be one. So, yeah. So before you can become, find like what you're looking for in a partner, you have to be who you're supposed to be. And I'm saying this as the woman's side, like, yeah, you have to learn how to look for the right person, but you have to be the right person too. And what we women need to do is work on humility, work on priorities, work on not being so argumentative, work on controlling our emotions and not being led by our feelings all the time. Learn to really listen to what he has to say and not think that it's some kind of like oppression or abusive situation. We have to get all that in check and have the right attitude. And good parents could cultivate that first and then speak about, well, who would be a good spouse for you? That's where I think this is a little bit lacking. It's not the only evidence of a teen dating decline. Okay. Government surveys that track teenage behavior reveal a similar downward trend. Jean Twenge uncovered an even larger drop in teen dating experiences. It says, subscribe to our newsletter to get the latest developments on teen. That was it? Literally, it just ended. It's like a Grimm's fairy tale. Literally ended with, if establishing a healthy relationship is a life goal, then there is no reason that men or women should delay in developing the skills necessary to its achievement. I really didn't think that was going to be the end. But it ended just like a Grimm's fairy tale. Like, okay. There's an elephant in the room. Anybody? Bueller? There's an elephant in the room. The females in school, the teenagers, are on Instagram. They're getting likes and attention from all kinds of guys. They're not looking at the guy they sit next to in history class, who's got a crooked smile, but he's funny, and he seems really sweet. They're not looking at him. They're on Instagram craving the validation and attention of as many guys. Why have a boyfriend? They don't need that. They don't crave the realness. They've got so much fakery with the likes and the followers and whatever. What do they want with some puppy love? And he didn't talk about that at all. And that's highly disappointing. Because I would say that while everything he said was basically true for the world we live in, like there's a giant elephant just right there. And we're just going to ignore it. Unless he never had a problem that way. I don't know. He said he's married. And I'm not sure if he actually is as young as he looks, talking about going to school in the 90s. Because this female thing has trickled down. And they're even worse. I mean, the millennials are worse than Gen X as far as career, independence. Oh my gosh, that's abuse, blah, blah, blah. There are lonely men. And they aren't just, they aren't just older men who've been forgotten. They're not just men that have been put through the ringer in family court, had their kids taken away, or men that were never, good enough to have a family, which probably would have been taken from them anyway. Now we've got young people in their 20s going, I don't know how to act around people. They all have social anxiety and they seem to be lacking coping skills, which isn't particular to having relationships. It's about being a well-adjusted human to start with. It's also about knowing you're a man. What does that mean? I'm a woman. What does that mean? Where did we come from? What are we here for? They don't have God. What would God have to do with any of it, right? That's just Sky Daddy. Funny, you remove Sky Daddy and look at all the crap just falls apart. Pretty weird for it just to be a myth. What I get from this article is that all men are lonely in all generations. It's taking different, it's taking shape differently. But they're walking away, even if they're 16. They're probably like, you know what? Playing my video game. I don't have to worry about if some girl's gonna make fun of me or reject me or be mad at me. They don't want the drama too. And the girls are thinking, they're literally like, I'm not going to settle down. I think that they have all these guys interested in them, which means they're highly valuable. And I'm like, they want something from you. They want to look at you, but they're not looking at you with real, as if you have real value. And women, a lot of times, we don't understand the difference. Thank you, guys. It's important that I think we talk about these things and read what some of the normies are saying. See if the normies are on track at all. And they're really not, apparently. It was a well-written article and everything, but conveniently leaving out some accountability for some of us females. And again, us not being accountable doesn't help us. It really doesn't. I guess it helps our fifis, but at the end of the day, it doesn't help us have a better life, a more fulfilling life, any more than, telling your children everything they want to hear helps them. It doesn't. So, Well, I'm really interested to hear what you guys think about this and what your experiences were in high school. I know that you guys are from very, like, a lot of different generations, most of you in the sort of Gen X is most, and then there's some, you know, younger boomers, and then there's some millennials in there. There are some guys, there are some Gen Zers that watch this channel. So if you're Gen Z, tell us what's going on the front lines. Tell us what the deal is, man. What's going on with you guys? Small town, big city. We can't judge what's going on from, you know, the media or anything. We have to talk to each other and go, okay, what is going on there for real? I don't trust any of the things that I read. Like, you got to chew the meat, spit out the bones, because it's full of lies and propaganda. And I'm like, we got to find out from each other what's actually going on the ground. So I look forward to hearing all your stories about that. My mom actually got married at 18, graduated in June, and was married in September. And when I was younger, I always wanted to do the same. And the only thing I wanted to do differently was that she started having kids at 23. And I thought to myself, oh gosh, why'd you wait so long? And my parents were younger than like all the other parents. But I still thought, well, why did you wait 5 years? That makes no sense. I'm going to start right away. So just a little memory. I always liked that she got married young. I always thought that was a very cool thing. But I'm a weirdo, so what are you going to do? I love hanging out with you guys, and I love you. And I want you to do something that feeds your soul and brings you peace. And I will see you on the next one. Take care.